Well, here we are with our Miata. We were about halfway through around the car, polishing it. And, you know, I had mentioned that the car had a bit of a musty smell, particularly in the trunk. And I had found some evidence of that. And again, this is Mike from Just Car People Things, because we're working right now and blew through an intro. And I noticed when I opened the trunk, a family member came over, wanted to see the car. And I opened the trunk and I noticed that the trunk, when I lifted this up to show him where I thought the water was getting in, was actually wet. And this, of course, sits in that pan in the back, kind of like this. And it was getting wet over here. So after a little bit of finagling and looking, I noticed that the water was coming in right down here and sort of filling the basin, you know, the crash structure of the car right here, this little well. And so what that's a symptom of is a rain rail that goes around this top the whole way, inside there being full of water. And that is not an uncommon problem on these cars, because what happens is the top drains fill up with garbage. And one of the things that you'll notice right here is these cowl bolts. But when I washed the car earlier, this area, this around the windshield wiper and this hinge right here, and this door edge trim here, this little piece of plastic or rubber, were very full of junk. So was this side over here. You can see some of the residue of that even under there still, is despite a pretty thorough washing and brushing and all that stuff. So that led me to the conclusion that the rain rails were probably plugged up. There's two drains underneath these Miatas. They're actually mounted inboard, so you kind of have to reach up and feel in for them. They're white plastic ports, and those go up about, you know, from right about down here from the ground, and they're only probably 10 or 12 inches, and the hole's about that big around. But what happens is junk falls on the top, leaves, tree bits, you name it, falls in the vehicle, gets swept down into this rail. And I'll pop this up here so you can see this, move some of the junk we've been working with here. When you pop this up, you can see down in, and I'll turn the light on bright for you so you can really see it. Right there is the rain rail. And you can see, hopefully, down into there, where there's a space down in there that water collects. There's one on this side, there's one on that side. And you actually are supposed to get, of all things, a trombone brush to get down in there, which is a big, long, flexible brush on the end. But I managed to use a piece of wire, kind of like a Romex type wire, and get up underneath into that 90-degree corner and then up. Whoa. Okay, sorry about that, air compressor things. So yeah, managed to get around that corner up inside and start like tapping on the plastic on the bottom. And I was reaching underneath there, laying on the ground here, and just probably a solid 16 to 24 ounces of water, just three or four cups just dumped right onto my hand. And I'm actually going to take the camera off my head here, and you can see here, let me fire the flashlight up a little brighter. You can see, look at all the junk that came out of that particular spot underneath there. You can see how much water was up in there. Some of it's drained out. All just little tiny bits of debris that were lodged in that channel inside the vehicle. So worth mentioning for those of you who are working on these and notice that. That's a big thing. I also noticed when I took the passenger or driver's floor mat out down here, you can see water residue here as well. And I'm guessing that that was the cowl, that this cowl is full up of junk somewhere in one of the drains, and it's, you know, it's getting down in underneath the floor mat. So I'm gonna leave the floor mat out of it to dry. I'm gonna vacuum and then shampoo these carpets, extract them, might even pull the seat. But I did find the evidence that this rain rail has been leaking a minute. And you can check when you buy one of these. Check that out right there. That rust is a sign that water is getting in, probably down this back area, because remember, that drains right there when it overflows, and it's rolling down into there and filling this whole lower area up with water. So this whole carpet, I might actually pull the seat out of the car to shampoo these carpets just to get that scent out of them, because otherwise you're gonna be stuck at that kind of musty, not super pleasant scent kind of forever. You can also replace the carpets. That's probably a little more work than I want to get into, and I don't think this is catastrophic. I think this has just gotten wet a handful of times when it's been washed really heavily or maybe rained really heavily sitting outside. So top tip for you, if you have an NC Miata, take the time, clean those drains out. It took me less than 30 seconds once I figured out how to do it, and then go through and make sure it all sort of looks right and go from there. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to Just Car People Things. Appreciate you liking and subscribing. We are halfway through polishing the car, and it looks awesome right now. And so we're having a great time. And this is the sort of thing you live for when you work on used cars and all that good stuff. So feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, feel free to comment. Always happy to hear your input. Talk to you guys soon.